Welcome to the Retirement in Mexico podcast, your guide to a life of sun, sand, and possibility. If you've ever dreamed of spending your golden years under the warm Mexican sun, surrounded by breathtaking beaches, rich culture, and an exciting community, you're in the right place. We're here to guide you every step of the way with expert insights, inspiring stories, and everything you need to know to make your move with confidence. The best chapter of your life is yours to create. Let's do this. Victoria, oh my God, I am so glad I found you. I haven't seen you in more than 10 years, and that's because it turns out you moved to Cabo.
Hi, Taniel. Yes, it's been a long time. So great to see you again.
Same here. Well, you look amazing.
So are you.
Well, thank you. But 10 years, you left Puerto Vallarta. How's life in Cabo?
Absolutely fabulous. Love it every single minute. So very pleased I made that choice and made Cabo my home now for the last 10 years.
Well, that's amazing. But you're not, well, I don't think you're from Mexico. You're not, right?
No.
So could you give us...
Poland.
From Poland.
And moved to Mexico in 2004, wherein I started my own business association with my partners, opening actually restaurants in Puerto Vallarta.
Okay.
That was my beginning of my love affair with Mexico. And so here I am 20 years later, still here, loving the life and enjoying every minute of it. So that's how I kind of, arrived to Mexico through business and settled in Vallarta for several years, doing different activities, different things. Before that, my background is actually luxury hotel industry. And so I worked in various hotels around the world. And part of that, my experience was also within the Puerto Vallarta area for quite some time after we finished restaurants operations. Moved to Cabo 10 years ago and have been here since, enjoying life and now helping people find a way to live here too, being a realtor.
But you weren't a realtor in Puerto Vallarta, right?
No, I was never a realtor in Puerto Vallarta, but I've always had that, on the back of my mind, thinking when I find time, I'm going to go full time to real estate. And so part of the decision of moving to Cabo was actually associated with real estate.
Okay.
So that was more of a driven decision why I moved to Los Cabos.
So who introduced you to real estate in Cabo?
I kind of took my own steps. When I arrived here, I wanted to get to know the area because obviously, it's a nice peninsula. It has a lot of different options here. We have, as Los Cabos is known, it's actually two different cities with two different vibes. We have San Jose del Cabo, more charming, more Mexican flair, sort of, feel of the lifestyle. And then
when you say that, does that mean it's more old or traditional?
You can find here more traditional old town, nice, beautiful boutiques, little coffee shops, galleries. Okay. You find this more of a calmer lifestyle here in San Jose del Cabo. While we have Cabo San Lucas, which is more related to aquatic activities, where there is beautiful marina, where you can take a boat and fish, you can go see the Land's End Arch, and you have a more of a fun activity lifestyle there. So it's two different towns with two different vibes.
Okay. And how far are they from one another?
Well, they're not very far away. I mean, I would say time-wise, travel time between one city and the other is about 20 minutes. So it's really not that far of a distance. Okay. But give you two different experiences, which is really charming too, what makes Cabo unique, I feel.
So how do you like being a realtor?
I love it. Always wanted to do that. So I'm actually doing what I really love. For me, being a realtor is a complex job. It's a service job, of course. It's something that we need to make sure we step into our clients' footsteps and really kind of feel like, what they're going through, what they're thinking, how we can settle their, uncertainties in a certain way and help them get involved with purchasing a property to have a dream life. Like, they say, oh, your life is so beautiful. And I always say, well, you can have that same life. It's all it takes is take a decision to come and get to know the properties, see if we can find you something that fits your lifestyle. And the next step is just, you have a fabulous experiences on your own here in Mexico. Right?
Where do most of your clients come from?
So Los Cabos traditionally was or is, I would say 80% North America, United States based.
Mm-hmm.
We do have a lot of Canadian investors as well. Although now, as we know, with the slight economical, financial, exchange rates, it can be sometimes more challenging for them to invest in here. However, it's not impossible.
You mean the Canadian market?
Correct.
Okay.
Canadian market, right? Because of exchange of a dollar or peso, it's so slightly weaker, but we do have a lot of Canadian buyers coming down here. And we have a pretty large Canadian community here in Los Cabos, very active.
Okay. So for people that don't know where Cabo is located, can you tell us geographically where it is?
Yeah, so we're actually the south tip of Baja California. So we're south of California, United States. So we're in the peninsula on the top of the end of the peninsula. We're surrounded by two beautiful oceans, the Sea of Cortez, which is my favorite. I feel like I'm in the Caribbean islands every day. Pristine sand, crystal water, lots of fish. You can snorkel right on the shore. It's magical. And then we have more, Pacific side, which is obviously a fantastic place for a lot of lovers of fishing, because you can find a lot of, deep sea fishing over here. And a little bit more rough on the edges beaches, because they're not swimmable, but absolutely gorgeous.
So there aren't any swimmable beaches, or there are?
On the Pacific side, we have an area called Cerritos, which is a small, growing now pretty fast, residential as well area in the small town. And we have there like more of a nice beach where you can swim, and it's a surfer's also paradise. So it's a very nice, only about 35 to 40-minute drive from Cabo San Lucas. But most of the beaches in the area of Cabo San Lucas or San Jose, there are several places where it's safe to swim, and it's absolutely the most enjoyable experience you can have. Warm water, crystal clear. Nothing gets better than that.
Yeah. Well, the last time I was in Baja, well, when I was younger, I used to go to Tijuana to go party with friends, and then I've been to Ensenada, Rosarito. So the furthest south I've been is San Felipe. Have you been there before?
I haven't been to San Felipe, but I'm aware where it's located.
Okay. So I was there, in the late 80s and early 90s, and it was a really tiny little town. Mm-hmm. But I do recall, it's pretty much it's a desert peninsula for the most part, right? But it's really beautiful just having like the desert by the water. And I remember how warm the water was there. It was very, very charming. And I'm sure it's grown exponentially since then. But getting down to Baja was a bit challenging at that time, because I don't know what their airport situation was like. So if somebody were to fly into Cabo, is it a small airport or is it like an international airport?
Well, Cabo, obviously, in the last several years grew. And so we have fantastic international airport, which has most connectivities with major United States or Canadian destinations, also including Europe, which I was able to take a flight lately to Frankfurt direct. So we are also now, very pleased that we also have a European market coming to Cabo, exploring it. So it's a fantastic way to get here.
Is that something new that started?
Yes, it's a new charter flights with Condor Airline, and they have high season, traveling kind of a destination only November through April. So they have twice a week flights to Europe, which is also exciting. So for us locals to go to Europe is easier now as well in the high season.
That's great. Because I think in Vallarta was last year, they started charter flights direct to Prague from PV. Yeah, so that's something new. So that's great, because it's just so much easier to come down here instead of connecting through the States or Mexico City.
Yeah, so we have an international airport in Los Cabos, and we have in San Jose del Cabo, and we have a small airport in the Cabo San Lucas area, which is not yet equipped for commercial flights, but they are mostly charter private jet airports. So it's very vibrant, very busy. So Cabo attracts a lot of travelers who pick, private jet and come down for the weekend. That's also one of the uniqueness of Los Cabos.
So let's talk about the energy and the vibe of Cabo for people who have never been there. So if I were to go there for the first time, what can I expect to see? Like, what is the city like?
Again, like I mentioned earlier, right? So it's two different experiences. So if you go to Cabo San Lucas, obviously you have fabulous, gorgeous, pristine beach called Medano, which I always encourage people to take a walk, sit there, have and maybe margarita on the beach. There's lots of fabulous restaurants or beach clubs which cater to you. You can take a water taxi and take like maybe an hour, just a personal trip around the arch, just to enjoy the sea lions bathing in the sun and pelicans and fish everywhere. So it's just really magical little, you feel like you're on vacation right away. We have fabulous marinas, so those who want to fish, they can pick up a charter and go fishing. A lot of activities, fine dining. It's very vibrant, very lively city. What you will also be surprised to see is the amount of golf courses that Los Cabos area peninsula has. We have about 19 golf courses. So
19?
19. So
Wow.
it's quite a lot of golf here. Some are unfortunately more private because they are within private communities. So you need to be an owner within the community to have an access. But there are several great golf courses that are public and you can enjoy different experiences every day playing golf. And of course, we have San Jose del Cabo, which is very famous for its Thursday art walk. It's very cultural. So we have a lot of artists and painting their art on the square or market, and lots of fun and folkloric music, and all the stores are offering drinks and galleries, and you can just go around and just see if you find a favorite art or jewelry or something that you like, and just have that really lively atmosphere. And outside of Thursday night is just a very beautiful place to come and have a great dining experience and enjoy farm to table restaurants, which we have quite a few here. It's really a lot to do in Cabo. It's very unique. Also, what you've mentioned, because we have ocean and the desert. So we have a little bit of off-road activities on the desert where you can take ATVs and just go through, those little hilly areas and have fun, right? Or drive on the beach, which people absolutely love. Or do hiking. So it's really a mix of everything. So I think, whatever you desire to do, there is definitely something for you to do.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot of outdoor activities, which is wonderful. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the beautiful things about PV as well. People come down here and people want to go to Cabo. They want to be outdoors, be with Mother Nature, right? Because back in the States, they're just kind of cooped up at home. They drive to the office or they're working from the home office and they're always indoors. And I think one of the beauties of Mexico, there's so much natural beauty, from the mountains to the desert to the waters and boating and just being outdoors. It's what it's all about. And it kind of nourishes your soul, right?
Definitely.
Replenishes.
Every morning, I'm grateful to waking up to the sunshine and I can see a beautiful marina and stunning yachts. Waking up to that view and the mountain view is just magical.
Yeah. So. Now, these Thursday events at the art walk you mentioned, is that year round or is that seasonal?
Mostly seasonal. As you know, like Puerto Vallarta, right? We're going through seasons, like when we are approaching the summer season, which is more of a warmer weather. Thankfully, I guess, because we're not a tropical destination, we do not have that much humidity build up in the summertime.
Okay, well, that's great.
Which people do appreciate more because you can stay more outside and you don't feel this humidity. We don't have rain in Cabo, pretty much maybe 20 days a year of rain. That's it.
And that would be when, like August, September or something?
Typically, I think as our area of Mexico, we are approaching like what we call, rainy or hurricane season, which starts around June. But in Los Cabos, being here, what I've noticed, most of the time we have a slight rain around August, September, and October.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, the second half of summer for Vallarta is when we typically have the tropical downpours. But I mean, it doesn't rain here. It rarely rains 24 hours. Usually it could be for like 5 minutes or an hour or two. So when it
Yes.
rains over there, is that similar?
When it rains over here, yes. We may have like the rain could be more like a tropical storm that is coming by. So it might be a full day of rain, even, or maybe even 2 days, and then it stops.
Okay.
Where in Vallarta, you have like those tropical storms coming by most of the evenings, and then you wake up to the sunshine the next morning, right?
Yeah. Or the sunshine can happen right after rain stops. It's bizarre. It's unpredictable. So speaking of rain, and you said, it doesn't, you don't have the humidity. So what is the temperature like in the winter versus the summer? Like what's the coolest and what's the hottest it gets in Cabo?
Well, the coolest could be even lower 50s, especially in the
At
winter.
night, not at daytime.
At
Uh-huh.
night, which is kind of comforting too, because you can sit outside by the fire pit and enjoy the experience outdoors still. And summertime, it can go even up to a 100. So yeah, it can vary depending on the time of the year you're here.
So explain to me the community, the local community. How are the expats and the local Mexicans get along? What's
Very
the
well.
synergy there like?
I think it's a fabulous synergy. Cabo feels like a small little town that most people know each other. And locals are very welcoming, very warm. They welcome you with open arms. They're very excited to have expats here. The community is growing day by day. There's more and more people taking possessions of their properties. And so the mix and blend is really very nice, very nice. People are very welcoming, like everywhere in Mexico, right? Mexicans.
What would you say like are the top 2 or 3 things that foreigners love about Cabo that really draws them to Cabo?
I think most people say the weather, the beaches, golf, fishing. I think, the blend between the ocean, the desert, the mountains all together with a little bit of a tropical feel. It's really uniqueness. I don't know how to even explain it. It just has that energy vibe that people are drawn to, and they keep returning year after year. And, very often after that, they warm up to investing and owning their own piece of paradise.
Yeah, I find the Mexican culture to be very warm and inviting here.
Absolutely.
They're
Aren't they
they're
great?
they're a
Yeah.
lot more social,
Yeah.
and they enjoy sharing their culture with you.
Yeah.
And when I was, thinking about moving to Puerto Vallarta, I came down here numerous times, and I was speaking with expats that have moved here, Canadians, and I was making more and more Mexican friends, and all of them were just very forthcoming and inviting, sharing with me their stories, and just helping me out. Any questions I had, they're willing to answer, and it was great. And no one said, "Oh, leave me alone, go figure it out on your own." They're all
No,
very kind.
no, it's not
Yeah,
in your genes.
yeah. Well, besides the 2 Cabos, well, you're into real estate, so I really want to talk about what type of real estate is out there, some of the different neighborhoods, because people hear Puerto Vallarta and they think it's just Puerto Vallarta, right? There are a lot of different colonias and neighborhoods. So, can you share with us what are some of the popular neighborhoods in and the surrounding areas of Cabo where you're seeing a lot of construction growth and where expats are moving to? And what's so special about them?
Yeah, it's a great question. So Cabo is very diverse. There's a lot of in Cabo private communities. So that's also a different kind of let's say, real estate infrastructure, for the lack of better word, right? So there's a lot of private communities where you can step in, and within the communities, there's several different real estate options from, 1-bedroom apartments to 5-bedroom homes. So it kind of can allow people to have a little bit of more of a secured, more of a luxurious sort of feel of lifestyle, where in the side, the communities, they have more resort amenities. So that's a very attractive aspect. And if there are developers so that's, for example, that could be a project called Kivira. Is a private community with 5 different real estate investment options from different price points and sizes. There is Diamante project, which has more of a single home villas for those who seek more of a larger homes. And it's a private community with 3 golf courses. And then outside of Los Cabos, we have communities like Pedregal, where you can invest in like a condominium, 2 or 3 bedroom with a walking distance to the marina, which is very appealing for a lot of buyers who are seeking maybe more return on investment, right? To put it into a rental market. And then further out, we have a very nice up on the hill area called El Tezal. And it's where new construction is happening now. And right now, a lot of homes are being now delivered, or apartments. It's been kind of a boom right after COVID, where a lot of developers decided to, start building homes, and that's when the boom happened in that area. So it's very popular, very attractive. And then moving towards San Jose, kind of going toward the east side, we're going through a beautiful corridor where you can basically invest in more of a freestanding homes. And then we're arriving to San Jose del Cabo, where we have more communities within the private communities, or let's say residential apartments with resort amenities within. So we would say, Campestre in San Jose is very popular. Puerto Los Cabos, where are more of a higher end lifestyle, price point tax apartments or villas.
So if someone's looking at buying a condo, let's say around between $300,000 and $400,000, in which one of these projects could they find such a place, and what would be the amenities in this development, and how far would that be from town?
If you're looking for something around that price point, I know Kivira offers apartments within that price point, so it could get you the 1 or 2 bedroom within the private community, and then outside of that private community, you are in a master plan community, so it will give you access to the beach club and golf and restaurants and bars and lots of sort of activities that are operated as a resort.
And how close is that to town?
It's about 15-minute drive.
Okay. And how close are they to completing the project, or is it already done?
In this particular project, they're about 80% completed.
Okay.
So there's a lot of people who already lived there, took possession a long time ago, and then obviously they're building it in phases.
Okay, yeah.
Similar price point can get you a little apartment, 2 bedroom, probably somewhere closer to downtown of Los Cabos, where you can just walk to the marina. It will be probably an apartment with a nice rooftop and, a little pool with a view, and maybe concierge, not as expanded amenities as maybe other projects could offer you. And then you can also look at some of the communities that are a little bit higher up. You're looking at 450 and higher. You can find something more of a little jewels, projects that have more resort amenities with private gyms and spa services and pools and wellness around it and sport and so forth. So you can find it within the Los Cabos, and now San Jose is catching up. And also you can find something appealing over here in this area as well.
If somebody wanted a condo on the beach, a 2 bedroom, what would you say the entry price would be for that, for a beachfront 2 bedroom?
Not that many available, to be honest, on the beachfront. We don't have that many condo complexes on the beachfront.
Are they mostly houses on the beach?
Mostly houses, but if you are lucky to be able to enjoy that kind of exclusive living, we are looking into about 2 million and higher.
For a house?
For apartments. For houses, we're looking at about $3 million and more.
Okay.
Even 20. So it depends what you're looking for.
Right. Okay. So let's talk about like neighborhoods. What are some of your favorite neighborhoods? Because you just mentioned all these different projects and they sound great. But if I were to come down there and I would say, hey, Victoria, I'm thinking of spending $300,000 to $400,000 for a condo. What neighborhoods should I focus on?
Well, I guess it depends what you're seeking, right? I mean, it's important, like, say, are you interested to be walkable distance to the city?
Yes.
That's important, right? You don't want to have a car, you don't want to take an Uber, you want to walk. Then I would say let's concentrate on Pedregal area where you can find a nice apartment with a good view and you can just take 10 minutes down the hill and be at the marina and the lifestyle that you're seeking. Go for grab a coffee, right? Go to a movie or do whatever you want. Go to the marina for a walk in the afternoon. So I would say Pedregal area would be that option in Cabo San Lucas. And then what also could offer you in San Jose del Cabo, there is a project called Cenit and Lava. They're brand new. They're still in the construction and they're kind of almost in the heart of San Jose, and walkable distance to the beach as well.
Well, it sounds like there's a lot of construction going on in Cabo. I mean, it's booming.
It's booming. It's booming. It's beautiful to have the chance for buyers to see more options because Cabo really for the longest time was rich and famous Hollywood kind of a destination, right? That's what marked Cabo as a place and obviously more tourism because it's always been a very touristy destination with limited investment options for lifestyle and living and purchases. And as of last 15 years, it's changed quite a bit. So it's offering people that variety of options. So yeah, there has been a while back. I'm not sure it's still the statistics. They obviously slightly changed, but overall, about a year ago, we did a run of new projects in town, and they told us it will be about 200 projects in the whole Baja, southern Baja, which we're talking Todos, Santos, Cabo, San Jose, and maybe toward what we call East Cape area. And it's including, every single project registered back then on the books for construction. So
yeah, right now in Puerto Vallarta, we have around 200 projects throughout the entire bay, not just PV, but the entire bay. And that's a testament to people wanting to move to Mexico. It's a supply and demand, right? So people are looking at coming down here and enjoying their golden years, retirement years, or, people as young as in their 30s coming down here now. So people aren't afraid to kind of pack up their bags and leave, I think, now with all the information that's out there, which leads me, because in the old days, it was that fear. They watch the media and they believe everything they see on TV and they're fearful of coming down. But I think now with all the content that's out there, with all the different, like YouTube videos, people are sharing what they're doing, in Cabo and San Miguel de Allende, and people are realizing, wait a minute, everything I've been watching in the news just might not be that accurate or skewed a little bit, right? Are you sensing that more and more people are coming down and exploring and then just saying, you know what, I'm going to go and experience it for myself, right? A lot of first timers.
Absolutely. I think, with today, like you said, social media, you can educate yourself a little bit better, right, about the area and be prepared and see what you can expect.
Absolutely.
And then just kind of come and experience it and live it. I always encourage people, like when they come on vacation, traditionally they will stay in a hotel. And I always say, please get out of the hotel, because you cannot say you've been into Puerto Vallarta or Cabo if you're staying in an all-inclusive hotel.
Yes.
That's not Mexico. You got to get out. You got to see it. You got to explore and go see different sites and talk to people. And you'll be really very much surprised how fabulous the lifestyle is here, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I agree with you 100%. I've seen people come down here with families, I guess, staying in an all-inclusive that makes sense financially, which is fine. But you know what? Step out of the compound of the resort and go to the town, go walk the Malecon and go experience the food and the culture instead of just staying in this little enclosed resort 24/7. I don't think that's really maximizing your vacation and learning the culture, right? You have to go out there and walk around.
I can only speak for myself. I'm a very adventurous person, and I've traveled the world and done many things in my life, and I was never afraid to pick up a bag and just go. because I always say, what could the worst case scenario that can happen? I can buy a return ticket and go back to my, roots or home.
Yeah.
And just be open, be adventurous. And, we're not a third world country. We're extremely sophisticated. Mexico is a very sophisticated country with a lot of opportunities and businesses and growth. And our tourist destinations, obviously, we seek to have and maintain them in the best state possible. Because obviously, like Cabo or Puerto Vallarta, we depend on tourism, which eventually turns into investors. So it's very important for the government to keep that safety factor, the beauty, the comfort available for people, so they can, realize that this might be a great place to live eventually, and pack their bags and move with the family and live here.
Sure. So talking about safety, I mean, you've been living there for 10 years. So what is the safety like over there? Should people be concerned?
I would say absolutely no. Being blonde, Polish woman, I've never felt in Mexico in any way scared of driving my own car from Puerto Vallarta to Guadalajara on a highway in the middle of the night. Never scared. Walking down the streets, never scared. Obviously, you need to be leery where you're going, but if you're
anywhere in the world,
if you're around town where there is people around you and infrastructure, you're absolutely fine. We haven't had any incidents here. Again, if there are any, it doesn't kind of come to our communities much, right? Safety is really important for Los Cabos government. And so they really take care of, screening. It's even maybe interesting fact, because we are in Peninsula. You can only come here by plane or by boat, or you can drive all the way from Tijuana through Baja, which takes you about, 30 hours or so to do that in one go.
Well, when I drove from LA to San Felipe back in the late 80s, I think it was around an 8-hour drive. So it's a long drive.
And I don't know if you've experienced that back then, but currently we do have a lot of military stops that actually stop the cars to, make sure who is coming and where you're going. So they want to protect the peninsula from unnecessary visitors who may not be most welcomed, right?
Yeah.
Same thing when you go through the boat, it's the same kind of a thing and experience. So for that reason, Cabo has been always safe. It's a great place to raise children. A lot of young families come here, actually. It's an interesting fact. And
they're from the States, they're relocating to Cabo?
Relocating with their children because they're seeking for more of a freedom for their children's upbringing, right? So, and the chance to blend with the culture, learning foreign language opens up your possibilities, horizons of lifestyle. Blending with different cultures creates who you are as well, right? It allows you to grow yourself. A lot of families are seeking that opportunity here. So we do see that trend happening here more often too.
Yeah. Well, in Vallarta, Victoria, there are a lot of bilingual schools, like elementary schools, and do you guys have that in Cabo as well?
We have fabulous colleges and schools. Majority of my friends are expats too, and they have kids, now almost adolescents that are going to college somewhere back to the States or Canada, wherever they choose, but they all grew up here. So we have bilingual schools. We have lots of activities for kids, clubs and organizations to keep them engaged. Baseball, football teams, we have it all.
That's great. Because, Vallarta, when I started real estate here in October of 2006, the majority of my buyers are baby boomers. Now we're getting a lot of Gen X because the baby boomers are kind of getting up there in age, and the Gen X now is the same age group when I started real estate. So they're the new baby boomers that are just starting to buy over here. And then we're getting some younger families coming down here, like you said, putting their kids up in school, and they're just building their lives and they're working here. So are you finding a similar type of mixture of the demographics of people moving? Yeah, same thing. Wow, that's great. So healthcare, Victoria, is a really big concern for a lot of non-Spanish speaking people. So a lot of our Americans and Canadians, native English speakers. So what is the healthcare like in Cabo, and do they have bilingual staff?
Absolutely, of course. Great hospitals, great doctor care. Everybody's bilingual. Your insurance goes a long way here too. If something happens, you have an incident, all the hospitals, approve or accept your healthcare insurance from the US or Canada. So your expenses, if there is an emergency, are covered. You can be very safe here as far as the, doctors, specialists are coming from different cities to practice here. So we have quite a few hospitals: H Hospital, Bluenet, Hospitan, AMC, to name a few, that offer great care and a great, attendance to patients. So,
Yeah, we have Hospitan here as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're wonderful.
Yeah, they are. They really are. Yeah.
Let's just jump back to real estate really quick. Is it a buyer's market now or a seller's market?
It's a buyer's market now. The market has softened a little bit. So right now we have slightly larger demand inventory than a demand. That kind of shifted as of last year. So we had a little bit of a slowdown. I'm not sure how Vallarta was, but that's what we've been experiencing here in Los Cabos. We feel like we're picking up with the interest, and more buyers are now warming up again to stepping into ownership. I think every time that we go through elections that are happening in the United States or in Canada or in Mexico, there's always that, hesitation and a little pause before, people know where they stand, what's going to happen in the next decade or next few, 4, 5, 6, 10 years. And so they decide on maybe slowing down. But yeah, definitely buyer market. Great opportunities right now to put offers and get fantastic real estate with your price point. There is just really great time to do so now. I think it's always a great time to invest when it's a slower market.
Have prices come down?
Prices have not come down. Prices have been very stable and steady. Our luxury market actually has increased in price points. Our, let's say, middle class market stays the same. We haven't seen any dramatic increases or decreases.
See, in Vallarta, some of our developers, they increased their discounts to help push inventory because, the exchange rate wasn't really good for a while. It was between 16 and 17 all of last year. And I think, because of the post-pandemic, the cost of living skyrocketed. Things went up between 30% or doubled. I think from every product, goods and services that we consume, from buying a bottle of water to a pen to glasses to airfare, hotel accommodations, food. So I think that there was a bit of a pause for a good year and a half, 2 years, while people were getting used to the cost of living. And I think, people realized, okay, this is not going to change. This is the new norm. Because they just kind of pause and like, okay, what's really important? Puerto Vallarta will always be there. Cabo will always be there. And I think we had that slowdown as a result of it. And the exchange rate wasn't great. But what I noticed was in October of last year, 2024, when the exchange rate shot back up to 20, so 20 pesos to the dollar, and our developers started discounting and resale properties, which I think some of the owners got a little bit overzealous with their pricing, because they thought they were at the peak of 2021, 2022. They started lowering their prices, and we've started to move inventory. So the first quarter of this year has been significantly better than the first quarter of 2024. So how would you compare the market at the first quarter of 2024 in Cabo versus the first quarter of 2025?
So we have seen a slight increase in sales this quarter. Definitely market is picking up. You mentioned that some developers in Puerto Vallarta have adjusted their prices. As we haven't adjusted much prices, I feel that developers are open to receive offers from the buyers, and they're more flexible. And so I think, that kind of helped as well push the market through.
And are developers offering developer financing or any other incentives right now?
Several projects do. offer certain incentives directly with the developers. Not that many, but there are, a handful of options available. We also have noticed for facilitating a possibility for foreign buyers to invest, that there is a very active, mortgage companies market right now where they're offering long-term loans, which allow owners to step into ownership and maybe not as attractive rates, but they range from 9 maybe to 11, which for most buyers from the US is like steep, as they were used to like 3% or less. But that's the
Well, back
old,
then, not anymore.
back then, that's never going to come back.
Yeah.
And so, like we are saying, the new norm, you need to be prepared. Like 6 to 7% is like an average, right? Loan in the US. Where here with the bank, if you have like a 30-year loan, could be around 9%, 8%, depending also on your, I think, however they decide on the percentage based on your cash flow and your personal, obviously, finances. So it also helped a lot of buyers step into maybe, a different level of investments, which maybe they had this, 400,000 or 500,000, but they found something for 700,000, and that allows them to kind of, lean over to a little bit of a different, maybe, investment with the help of the banking or mortgage companies.
Sure. And you know what, Victoria, I mean, they can check with their accountants back at home to see if they could write off that interest, because there might be that option. Plus, if they're going to be renting out their property, they're going to generate revenue, and that's going to help offset some of those expenses, those carrying costs, including the mortgage, the HOA dues and everything else. So I think, just focusing on the interest rate only might not be the best thing to do, but look at the big picture. Can I write this off? If I were to rent my place out X number of weeks a month, or, X number of months a year, what can that look like to projection? And then really do that Excel spreadsheet. And you might be surprised that you might actually, break even or turn a profit and have a home in paradise, right? A place to go. And it's a win-win. So I think they need to consider looking at the whole spectrum of income, expenses, what you can write off, what you can't, and then make a decision from there.
Exactly. I don't know about Vallarta. I have a feeling it's also, investors market, right? People who are precisely looking for a place to have, but a place that generates them profits eventually and return on investment, right? Through rental programs.
Yeah. Do you find most of your clients, they're buying this is their retirement home, vacation home, or they are looking for an investment property as well?
It's a mix, but lately I think most of the buyers are looking for temporary home here, let's say vacation home, not temporary, but second home, that generates them some income while they're still working actively. They cannot take, longer periods of times away from home, and they just come here on, vacations a few times a year, which eventually they will turn into their retire home, right?
Yeah.
So we do see a lot of transitions. The market is very interesting because there has been maybe times when people bought a certain property. Maybe now they've outgrown it. Situations at home change. They want to sell it and invest in something new, bigger. So we've seen a little bit of that as well, like our internal market moving between buyers who already invested, let's say 4 or 5 years ago. Now they're selling to upgrade to something else.
Yeah.
So that's also something that's been happening quite a bit here.
Yeah, it's been happening here too. People are upgrading over time,
exactly.
right? So what are some of the common mistakes you see foreign buyers making when purchasing a property in Mexico?
Well, I feel like they are not taking enough time to educate themselves. First of all, a little bit about real estate. They base their knowledge on real estate on somebody's opinions, which I think is the biggest mistake.
The person sitting on the beach having the margarita, right?
Yeah, that maybe doesn't even own is their advisor, right?
Right.
So
Right.
I find it a little humorous, but it's fine. I think that
It happens a lot, though.
it does. It does happen quite a bit, which whatever, but it is a reality, right?
Yeah.
So I think first mistake is do not listen to what other people say until you actually speak to the specialist. You're welcome always to find the realtor that you can trust and, that has a knowledge, and they can hold your hand through the process, which could be sometimes, more complicated or less, depending which avenue you're going to go and what you're going to purchase. So be sure you have an agent who is knowledgeable, right? So they
Yes.
make that mistake. They sometimes go to properties by themselves or try to find the best deal. And at the end of the day, it causes them more frustration and more time and disappointment in some cases could as well, right? So I always say find an expert. Be sure you talk to people who know. I have done real estate. I think that they also need to look into more legal aspects, like what does it really take to purchase property? Like you said, what are my pros and cons? What are my financial costs involved with purchase? A lot of people forget that if they buy a pre-construction, they will be, facing some property taxes and closing fees at the end of the road of receiving a property. So they need to make sure they have that finances also allocated.
Yeah, for the closing costs to get their title.
Closing costs, right? Plus furnishing the property as well, which is, another aspect of add-on to their property purchase. So things like that sometimes they don't think it's further down the line if we're looking at pre-sale, let's say a year from today or more. And I think, that is, for me, I think these are the two major kind of maybe mistakes. And I also feel like, I don't know about you, but, I like to kind of have a very open conversation with my buyers, because it's also very important, like, what is the actual purpose of your investment, right?
Yes.
Like, how are you going to use it between this year to next 2 and 3 years and
Yes.
later on? And that's when sometimes they don't know. And they are really not sure and they don't have that clarity. And I think that's the biggest mistake, that they don't exactly know what they want to do with this investment, how they're going to use it, how they're going to actually move forward with use. And that is important, because they need to rely on us to help them, guide them to the right investment, right?
It's going to be their lifestyle, the way they live in Los Angeles or in Seattle. It's going to be different than the way they're going to live in Cabo or Puerto Vallarta or anywhere else in the world, right? So it's really important, I think, for us agents is to sit down with them and say, okay, what do you envision your life being like in Cabo? What do you want to do when you wake up? Exactly. Do you just want to go to the beach and have margaritas every single day? What do you want? Are you going to go golfing all the time? From the 19 golf courses, which is incredible. It's really important for them to think about their lifestyle and how they're going to be living and moving, and what do they plan on doing, so you can guide them towards, maybe the best neighborhoods, maybe some of the best buildings that are going to be in sync with the life that they want to live, in Mexico. That's really important.
Crucial. It's crucial about, making more educated decision, right?
Yes.
And concentrating on those areas that will give you that. And, the rest is just a easy lifestyle. Once everything is done, and it's, easy. We may say, purchasing property in Mexico is so complicated. It's really not. It's very simple process.
If you have the right professionals
Correct.
on your team.
Correct.
Yeah. If you do it alone, it's intense. But when you've got the right professionals who have the right contacts, they've got the systems in place, I'm not saying it's smooth sailing. There are sometimes little bumps or things happen, along the way, but that's how you have a strong team to look out for your best interest.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's really important. So a lot of people, they don't live there full time. They go back to the States. So I'm guessing, do you guys have property management companies that are bilingual to help these people out?
Of course, absolutely. There is a range of great, property management companies. Some developments offer their on-site property management, services to facilitate that need of making sure your apartment is in the perfect condition when you're not here. So you have like a, great sleep at night back home, knowing that your assets are secured and safe here. And if you are renting a property, having a great property management team is very crucial, because it really helps with, the operational aspect and everything that is involved with owning property here. So quite a few great property management companies to choose from. Depending, everyone has their own little extra added on value in services. They may charge you a little bit more or less, but it's definitely something to keep in mind as well, right?
If someone's looking for a property management company, can they contact you for a list that your clients work with? Yeah, that would work.
Very happy to share, of course.
Cool. Another thing, Victoria, is cost of living, right? Mm-hmm. Retiring and living in the United States is not practical for a lot of people. They're on a fixed income. And I think that's another reason why people are retiring abroad, and Mexico has become a very viable option. So how would you compare the cost of living in Cabo versus the United States and Canada?
Yeah, I think, Cabo may have certain aspects of certain, utilities that might be a little bit more pricier. Let's say electrical bills might be a little pricier than maybe somewhere in the United States because energy here is more expensive. But other than that, the cost of living is fairly reasonable and comparable to United States or less. You can live really well here on a, small budget and live comfortably and enjoy daily activities and life and experiences as well. So it's a great place to kind of, put your money. It takes you a further way than you may be in the United States. The taxes are also important. We're not paying high taxes on our properties here in Mexico.
It's almost nothing.
It's almost nothing. So that's a good saver right there.
Yeah. Well, look, my current condo, my annual property tax, I think for this year was around $125, $135 for the year.
Wow.
For the year. I have family members that are paying 11, 12,000 for the year. And there are other people that are paying a lot more, 30, 40, 50,000, in the States, but you don't really see that in Mexico.
No. And that's why, when I always say for the buyers, I said, you might pay a little bit higher closing costs at the moment of acquiring property, but long term, the cost of, taxes and fees related to lifestyle are extremely reasonable, very low, and it pays off long term, right?
Yeah. Well, and also from the closing costs, there are two itemized expenses in the buyer's closing cost: the notary's fee and the transfer tax, which is deductible from capital gains tax when you sell. And those two itemized expenses are usually almost 50% of your buyer's closing costs. So you'll get that back in the form of a deduction when you sell. So really, then your buyer's closing cost at the end is going to go down, right?
Exactly.
So there's advantages. Okay. So as we're closing this out, some final thoughts. If you could give one piece of advice for someone considering a home in Cabo, what would that be?
My goodness, I would say just calm down, enjoy Cabo. If you're not an impulsive buyer like I would be, or maybe a lot of people out there, and you fell in love with something and you just jump on it, many buyers are not like that. Just come to Cabo, take time to really explore it, get into the reality of life, just get, like we were saying, outside, get the feel, which of the areas is resonating with you best, whether it's, Cabo San Lucas, vibrant and lifestyle and beaches, or you want to be more in a calmer, more cultural side. Or maybe you want to go to Todos Santos, which is also part of Baja, but it's more of a rural, very farm to table, very nice, kind of a laid back lifestyle that a lot of people do seek still because they want to escape the traffic and the noise. So take time really to assess like what area you want to live. If it takes you 2-3 trips, do so. Also what is interesting, a lot of buyers choose to come for maybe 3 to 6 months, if they can, that long, to experience the living. They rent the property for a while just to kind of feel like, what would it look like to live here before I step into owning full time? And I think it also is very smart because it gives you a chance to really get into the area, feel it, and then choose the right investment that you want to have for living. So I would say just, the most important thing is to come down here, see it for yourself, get the feel, seek for an agent who can maybe guide you. If you're seeking investing, what's today, what's happening next few months on the market, evaluate your finances and don't wait too long. That's my suggestion.
Yeah.
Don't wait too long because the market now is really attractive. And we never know how long it's going to take. It might be very soon the seller market and things can go completely different direction. And stepping now still gives you a chance to own something in a starting phase, because we do have a lot of pre-construction, like I mentioned earlier, right? That is maybe a year to 2 year wait. On some cases, maybe more, but it still gives you a chance to find that little perfect, place to live, perfect price, perfect view.
Yeah.
So it's something that is worth taking time.
And in the pre-construction, at least in Vallarta, you're not paying the whole money up front. You're paying them in installments, right? And some of them, they're based on a certain milestone. Like, for example, the foundation is completed and they might pay like 25%. And then when the fourth floor structure is done, another X percentage. Do you guys have a similar payment term like that?
Very much exactly the same. Correct.
And that's great because they're just kind of when the developer, they meet their obligation, they build what you're supposed to build up to a certain point, they get paid. Then they finish up to this point. And then there are some contracts, I think you're just making quarterly installments or monthly installments, regardless of where the phase is. But the point here being is they're not forking over 100% right away. And they're just kind of putting a little bit down. And then before you know it, in 18 months, 24 months, building is done. They've got their new home, right?
Exactly. It's exactly a great way to kind of, help with your economy. And like you just said, it's convenient, right, to do it this way. And and go from there. And if eventually you want to refinance, you can also do that and continue buying maybe more real estate. It's an interesting fact because a lot of buyers of mine, they purchase maybe one property and they see how well it turned out to be. They were able to stretch that budget further. And then as they go, they may take a small loan and buy another property, and just kind of roll it over, and they're becoming more real estate investors, having multiple properties in the area, in different areas of town.
So Victoria, if someone were to come down there for the first time with the sole purpose of scoping out Cabo and all the different areas, how many days would you say they should stay so they're not in a rush and they can check out all these different neighborhoods?
I would say a week is a good starting number of days. I don't think that you can feel the city in 2 or 3 days. It's not enough.
No, that's crazy. No way.
You also want to enjoy living and experiencing vacation on the beach and do something fun. I said a week is a good time frame to get you to see different areas. Again, explore some activities, see what it feels like to really live here, and take time to look at some real estate. I always cautious clients not to take too much trips to different, projects because you could be overwhelming.
Yeah.
My success, I believe, is a key of identifying my clients' needs ahead of time and literally narrowing down 5 showings. That's all. I am not an agent who is going to show my clients 20 different properties. I value my time and I value their time. And I think, once we know what clients are seeking, right? I'm sure you feel the same. Once we know what they want, we know which area could fit their needs within the budget, the lifestyle and everything. And we can help them check off those boxes. And pretty much they appreciate it because they really value the fact that, we're not giving them a tour guiding around Cabo. And seeing multiple properties that may not sometimes be the ones that they're looking for. So, and I also say, as a buyer, don't be afraid that you're missing out on something because the agent didn't show you something. And I do see that also sometimes in buyers. They want to see everything.
Yeah.
Because they feel like they want to see every single piece, but it's impossible to see, 40 different projects in a week.
No. Also, sometimes I can't help my client unless they're forthcoming and they're telling me exactly what they're looking for. I ask a lot of questions. My agents ask a lot of questions, and we're just trying to weed out. We're trying to get into your mind and thinking, okay, they like to golf. They like to cook at home. No, they'd like to go out to restaurants a lot. Well, if you like to go out and eat at restaurants, 5 nights a week, living out in the boondocks is not going to work for you. If you like to socialize and kind of go to the beach, maybe twice a week and be around people and music and just kind of, and enjoy people watching, well, then living in the mountains might not really work for you. So it's really important for us to get in your mind to understand, your wish list and what kind of lifestyle, and also, how much you're willing to spend. When people say, well, I don't have a budget. We all have a budget. So you need to tell us what you're comfortable spending. From then we could say, okay, does this include the buyer's closing costs? If you're going to buy pre-construction, does that budget include the furniture? If it does, we need to move the furniture amount, 20 grand, 15 grand, whatever that is, out of the purchase price. We need to move, between 5 and 6% closing costs out of the purchase price. So we really need to know this and need to be honest and upfront with us. It's so we can guide you, it's really, really key. So Victoria, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, how can they reach you?
Well, I am available at my Victoria Antoszkiewicz Instagram, which is very tongue twister last name.
We'll put that in this description below.
And then, call me and find me through email, victoria@bajarealestate.com. And I'll be happy to assist you in discovering Baja California and lifestyle here.
So victoria@bajarealestate.com, right? Well, we're going to put all your contact information in the description. And Victoria, thank you so much. It's so nice to see you virtually after 10 years. And I hope to come out to Cabo soon and for us to hang out.
Please do. And we look forward to having you here. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure talking to you about the real estate and lifestyle. It's been a joy. So thank you so much.
It's been wonderful. Thank you, Victoria. We'll talk soon.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye, you too.
Your retirement in Mexico starts right here, and we're excited to be part of your journey. Every episode, we bring you the magic of Mexico, insider tips, and expert advice to help you take that next big step with confidence. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. It helps others like you discover the endless possibilities waiting south of the border. Got a topic you'd like for us to cover? We'd love to hear from you. Send your suggestions to info@TanielChemsian.com. And remember, a life well lived isn't left to chance. It's created with intention. See you next time.